That's right, we're back. It's Monster Art School time. And I realized that the sketch that I was planning on doing today kind of resembles the sketch we did the other day, but I don't care. We're going to go through with it anyway. So today we're going to do a gargoyle. But I think we're going to do something a little different. Well, different than we did the other day. So this was the monster that we did on Monday for Penelope. And so what I kind of want to do is create another creature, kind of similar, yet different, a gargoyle. And so what I'm going to do is give me a sec to grab my paper. And we got one paper right here I can draw on. And I'm going to sharpen my pencils. Even though I have two here, I need to make sure they're nice and sharp. Okay, so now that I've got that, let's get started drawing. I hope you guys are doing okay today. It's been kind of a weird week, obviously. It's always a weird week here on Monster Art School because we've been doing it since we started with the COVID-19 crisis. So it just starts out weird altogether. So right now, even though like this one might seem familiar to what we did the other day, I think we're going to have a little more fun with it, or a little different kind of fun with it. So let's start our drawing. Now, what we want to do to start off this piece is we want to think about what the size of the image is going to be. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself an imaginary frame box, and the whole picture is going to fit inside that frame box, okay? Because I've been going crazy lately and kind of just letting the pieces go all over the place, and I think I'm going to try and be a little bit more restrained with how we're going to do this. So we've got our monster box. We got our box there. Now, first step is we've got a box. It's very light, and it's meant to be very light. And from there, what I want to do is we're going to do a setting with a monster in it. Okay, because gargoyles are meant to go on top of buildings. So if we just did a gargoyle like hanging out, it wouldn't make any sense, right? So what we need to do is we need to draw the building. So to start the building, what I want to do is, or what we want to do, let's start somewhere around a little further than halfway, between halfway and 3/4 of the way across the page line here. And we're going to draw from here down to about 1/4 here. So we're just going to draw a line like that. I hope you can see that. And what that's going to be is that's going to be the edge of our building, or kind of. It's going to kind of set up the building a little bit. Now that we've got that established, I'm going to say let's put a circle here, or not a circle, an ellipse. Now remember, the difference between an ellipse and a circle is that an ellipse is just is not, you know, not the same 100% around the perimeter, because a circle is defined as something that is the same distance from the center to every side, like that. So this is not a circle; it's like a ellipse. Okay, it's a little wider. Maybe an egg shape would work. Okay. Now, I think we're going to draw another line back here. Okay, so we've got an ellipse here, and then like a kind of a part of an ellipse there. And then we're going to draw right up the center of the ellipse, or kind of not up this, off to the side, like make a half moon or a quarter moon shape right there. And then we're going to do the same across like this. And if you've watched these before, you'll know exactly what I'm doing. Like I'm building the basics for the head right now. And then the next shape I'm going to create is going to start right around here. So a little bit behind there, behind the original ellipse. And we're going to draw another ellipse here. This one can be more of a circle, you know, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But we're going to put the same kind of line breaking it up there. We're going to put that here as well. So we'll end up with another half moon or quarter moon over here. And then we can draw around like that. Now, down here, so we're going to have an arc like this. Down here, we're going to put a third ellipse. And this one, we can make it a little bit wider than it is tall. And when we draw this line around it. See that line? It's kind of curved up like that. We're going to do the same thing here, but it's going to be a little bit under the bottom of it. And then we're going to draw around like this. So we have the sense of the whole body. I mean, of the hip area for the creature. So now, you can kind of see where we're going with this, I think. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw up the back and over, up the neck, around and over the back of that sphere and down to this sphere here. So you get kind of a half circle with an arc like that, okay? And that's going to give us the form of the body arc, like the basic arc of the creature. And then now we want to create the legs, the top legs. So remember how we drew this line here? Here and here, which would be the opposite sides of the body. We're going to draw an ellipse, a tall one. And on this side, we don't really need to see it. We can just see like maybe the bottom of this ellipse over here, okay? And we're going to draw in, and we're going to do a point down like that right here. And then we're going to bring the legs forward so they'll kind of meet. So you bring them in and forward. And these are going to be cylinders, okay? Like so. And cylinders, the way you can tell the angle of a cylinder is by the angle of the ellipse that is the end of the cylinder. So if you draw one like with a ellipse that's more closer to a circle, your cylinder is going to look more like this. If your cylinder is a very thin ellipse, it's going to look a lot more straight up and down, right? So this you can see the whole bottom, this you can barely see the whole bottom. And here you can kind of see in the middle of the two. So we want these to kind of look like they're going down. So we can make this one a very thin ellipse at the bottom here. And same with over here. We can have it be a thin ellipse. Doesn't need to be a big, deep ellipse. All right, now we'll bring this down. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have them meet in the middle. So we can draw a triangle here. And then just follow the legs down like this. And then what we'll do is we'll do a box here for the toes. Okay? So the toes are going to be kind of like two boxes. Like, see how that works? Like, they're boxes, they go back, they're three-dimensional, and we'll have the toes on the end here. And then with the legs, on the side here, we'll put a ellipse, like so. And we'll pretend an ellipse back here. What I mean by pretend is we can't see the whole thing, but we'll still see part of it, like so. And it should approximately be about the same size as this one, but maybe a little smaller because it's further away from us. Like I've said before, things that are further away from us tend to appear smaller. So from here we can go back and up and draw an ellipse here.
What?
And a foot.
Monster art school?
Like this. So like this, okay? And these should look kind of like dog's legs. Like one of the things about what do you call it? About gargoyles is they frequently have dog legs.
What?
Please don't yell, Luna.
Sorry.
Go and talk to her.
What?
The daughter has been learning snark lately. So now down here we want to put a line like this that shows where the bottom of the rib cage of the gargoyle is. And I notice this one's starting to look a lot like the one we did the other day. So I'm going to try and make it different in certain significant ways. And I also made it flat. That was a bad mistake. Oh no, I made a big mistake. Oh well, okay. So maybe this isn't the side of the building. Maybe the building's more like this. Oh well. That's what I get for making it up on the fly. But that's part of the fun of this, is changing it as we go. So here we're going to draw underneath here. We'll draw kind of like a cylinder, like this. You can let it curve. And then we'll draw back And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down a little bit further so it works more. So just erase this out. We'll draw this back and down, and we'll draw another cylinder there. And we'll connect the cylinders like this. And we'll draw the shape like that. Now that should give like a podium for the creature to stand on. Not a podium, but like a, I don't know what you call it, basically a piece of stone, part of the building that it's going to stand on. So make it like that. We'll get to that more later. Now, let's go back to this leg that we just erased. We're going to bring it back here. So you'll see a short cylinder there, and then this will come up and over like this. Like so. Okay, now, how do we make this creature fun and cool? Well, one of the things I first want to do before we get too far into this creature is, down here, I'm going to create a skyline. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to start at this corner, and we're going to come across a little bit. We're going to go up, come back out, come back up, come back in, come back up, and then we're going to go create a triangle, and then we're going to mimic that in reverse over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, we can make this even taller. So we'll go like so. And then down here, we'll come out and down. Whoops. Make these lines a little bit cleaner. So we'll come out here, and we can go down at an angle, and then we'll come across, and we go up. And we can continue this further this way too. I think that would actually work really nicely. Go down, up, and across like that. And then this one, since we came up here, I think I'm not going to come up here. I think I'm going to go down. And what this is supposed to mimic is the separation between buildings in the background. So what you're creating is kind of a detailed silhouette of the background. And it could be simple like this. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but then we draw little things in here, little squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oops, my hair's in the way. 2, 3, maybe 1 there, maybe 1 or 2 here. And those represent windows in the silhouette. So later on, we're going to fill that in dark, and those will be the windows that will be coming through. And then we can also throw some clouds like this. And we want the clouds to be about as horizontal as this. We'll have the clouds come in. The bottoms of them be pretty flat, and then the tops we can do this with. We'll do another one up here by his eye, coming out and then in like that. Okay, now, so now the building can stand like this in the foreground. So now, so now you can start to see the scene that we're setting here. So one thing we can do, and we can talk a little bit about perspective here, is if this is, let's say this is the angle that we want the pedestal to be at, that he's standing on, then his feet need to be at that same angle. So we'll do this, okay? And his elbows need to be at that same angle, so we'll lower this one a little bit. And his hips need to be at that same angle, so we'll lower that hip a little bit. And his shoulders as well, so we'll bring this one up a little bit, so we'll give it a little bit of a bump. And then, so as we go up though, the angle connects to a point out here, but each time we go up, we tilt it out a little bit further. So as we go, they're going to get a little more angled as we go up. And as we go down, they're going to get less angled, and they're eventually going to turn flat. Okay? Somewhere down here, they'll be flat. So now that we have those lines, and you could use a ruler to do this, but I think that if you just get the idea that basically all of these lines radiate out from a point out here, the point would actually be somewhere out here, they all radiate out from there, okay? You should get the basic concept that of what we're doing here. So now we can draw up here, and this will be what the corner of the building here. And then when we do these will become bricks, and we can do that by just doing this. And I just like to kind of continue them. When you have good masonry, these lines should all meet up. When you have broken down kind of old, kind of mangled buildings that have collapsed a little bit, these won't be even with each other. But a good mason would make these nice and perfectly even. So if you figure this is a nice building that's taken well care of, you're going to keep these the same way. And then we can bring this pedestal back to meet with the stone back here. We can get rid of this because I don't need that anymore. But we'll just kind of connect this back like so. So now you see we've got the building here, we've got the gargoyle, we've got the city. Now we got to draw our gargoyle, right? So let's get to the gargoyle. Oops, the tip of my pencil broke off. All right, let's switch pencils. So now, I've seen a lot of gargoyles. Like I was at, what do you call it? I can't think of the name of the cathedral, Notre Dame. And I saw the gargoyles there. And they all kind of look different. They're all kind of fun looking. And they all have different things going on. There's generally dog-like in the back legs. And then they have kind of dragon-y, demon-y faces. So we're going to go with that kind of a face. So right here, the center, we're going to draw ellipses out here. And I'm making these ellipses kind of angled in. Because remember, gargoyles are supposed to be scary. The idea is that they're supposed to scare off evil spirits. The real reason for gargoyles is actually they were water spouts, believe it or not. What happened is the rain would come down, it would collect in a pipe, and it would come out through the center of the gargoyle, and the gargoyle would be spitting water out. And that's actually where they get the name, because the gargoyle sound sounds like gargling, like gargle, 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 gargle. The water is pouring out of their mouths. But I'm not going to do a stone gargoyle, I'm going to do a fun fantasy gargoyle. So from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to draw out from the center here. I'm going to make kind of a pointed nose. A lot of gargoyles have very pointed faces, almost bird-like, dragony-like kind of faces. So we'll do that. We'll bring this around and we'll point that up, almost like it's got a beak, like so. Okay, so we draw these lines here, these curved lines here, to kind of define the top of that beakish structure. And we can get rid of these inside lines here. And now on either side of the beak, you can choose where. We can put big old nostrils. So if the nostril's on this side, you're going to draw out and around, and you can bring in like this. And if it's on that side, you're going to do the same in reverse. You go out here, and it might actually extend out beyond the edge of the beak, and then go up a little bit and come back like that. And that could be the edge of your gargoyle nose. And we don't need that line up the center anymore. The line for the center was just to kind of give us an idea of where the point of the beak was, but also how these are equally on either side. You can draw a little bit of a line there, maybe split this out into the nose like that. And then we can draw the top of the nose like this. And now, gargoyles tend to have very prominent cheekbones, so we'll bring this out like this. And right about there, we'll go out like this. The cheekbones, you should know what those are. They're right below your eye. They're right under your eye. So this is going to be they're the thing that defines the lower part of your eye socket. So we'll have those cheekbones prominently displayed here. And now we're going to go and draw in the eye socket. So we already have this shape here. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw that out. We're going to bring it out like this. And we're going to come up in like this. Okay? So on this side, in order to mimic that same thing, it's going to come out like this. And we're going to go like that. Okay? And don't draw inside this area. Just draw the hole, because we're going to put the eyes in here. And I want the eyes to look like they're deep set. And so there's going to be a space between the edge of this cheekbone and the eye socket and where the eye starts. So we'll draw the eye inside like this. And in here, you can draw the lower eyelid and then draw up and around like that to draw the eye. And if you want, you can bring these lines in and make them come up like this to form kind of growl lines. So now, a lot of gargoyles have horns. So I'm going to give this guy horns. I'm going to put them here, and we're going to just kind of have them come up and in. So just use like a half circle or a quarter circle up, like that. And we'll bring them like so. Like that. Hi, sorry about that. My phone rang. I should have put that away. So I'm going to do a triangle here to define the top and the back of the head. And then, are we still on? I hope so. Sorry about that, guys. And then here, we're going to start drawing kind of, I like pointy scales. Sorry, guys. Someone keeps calling me for no reason. It's really annoying. I apologize. If he does it again, I'm going to yell at him. So now we've got this going. Now, we'll curve it that way so the mouth is open, and we can bring another line like this. What's interesting is that gargoyles were kind of carved out of stone. Were carved out of stone, so they kind of have this carved look to them. Like the edges are kind of curved and they're kind of shaped, as opposed to looking naturalistic. They look very designed. So you can have a lot of fun kind of designing patterns into your gargoyles. So you can add patterns wherever you like, because if you imagine some sculptor had a lot of fun making these kind of patterns. So now here, we're just going to line the beak with little triangles to make teeth. Like so. And then this is going to be the bottom of the beak. And what I'm going to do is here, we have that half circle. I'm going to bring it around like this. So that meat reaches up to the horn. And then in here, we can make little triangles like this that will be teeth. Like that. Okay, now, the neck, what we want to do is we want to connect from the center of this mouth space to the center of this torso here, and that's where the neckline is going to be. It should look something like so. And now we're going to get the legs put in. Well, actually, let's get some more of this done. So we'll come out, just big triangles, like this, okay? And you could even make them have ridges in them, like smaller ones like that, and then bigger ones like this. Not ridges, but like lines of them going back. Like there's rows of them that each are the same length going back. And you can define them with kind of carvings in the neck like that. And then right about here, we're going to come down and around and define the upper part of his arm. So, or her arm. So we're going to go like this. You can make it boxy if you like. I'm going to make it kind of boxy. And then we'll come down to the elbow here. And I'm going to make the elbow bump out. And then I'm going to bring it up to the foot here. Like so. And then on the back here, we can put more of these spikes. Make them a little softer. Don't make them quite pointed hard, because if you make the point a little rounded, it feels more like it's got three-dimensional depth to it as opposed to being flat 2 dimensions. So the difference is like that versus that. The curved end kind of implies a less easy to define point, and so therefore feels more like it's a three-dimensional object as opposed to a two-dimensional flat object. So there we go there. Now let's get this other leg to that same position. So this is the crook of the arm here, so that same thing is going to happen here. We're going to bring this in. We can come out at the crook of the arm. It's going to be a little different, but you'll see it from another angle. And remember, this is a tube like this, so if you're going to draw that, draw it coming, you can draw a line like so that kind of defines that this is a separate shape than this down here is. Okay? Now, in here, what we're going to do is we're going to go from this point and draw back. And that line will continue it past the leg down the center of the body like that. And now we can start to draw out here. So, okay, so we've got that. You know, erase these extra lines up here because I don't like those. They look too messy. Just kind of bring them in. Like that. Good. Okay, now, let's get to the back legs. Now, the reason I do the legs like this is the dogs tend to hunch their legs when they're sitting down. So the leg actually starts way back here. And then its knee is like here. And then it goes back like this. So you'll get a shape kind of like, it's almost like a spiral. Okay? And this knee is facing us, so there's going to be a three-dimensional object here. So remember to think about that. This is the knee could be a box, and the muscles are pinched up here like this, and the butt, of the gargoyle can be back here. And then you bring from this point back, it can go flat to the back of the ankle here. Okay, we've kind of dealt with legs like this before in other drawings. And then back here, let's just keep drawing these triangles. So we have consistency going all the way back. And then on the legs, just for fun, in order to make it look like the leg is pushed over, we'll draw another line like this. Now this line is basically just to kind of show muscle underneath. And the sculptors, even though they were trying to design these creatures, they also did things like they kept the muscles in mind when they were designing stuff. The muscles and the bones in mind. So even if you're designing something without a sense of realism, it sometimes helps to have that sense of realism to make it feel a little bit more, more real. So here's this. Just cleaning up these lines now. All right, now we want to get these claws in. So first we're going to bring this foot out like this. Here's his ankle. Out like this. And then we're going to have its toes. So we're going to do something we've done before. We're going to draw from right here up, curved line, and then we'll come out, curved line up and out, curved line up and down, like that, okay? And then in here we can always throw claws, like so. So now you have kind of a nice clawed foot there. And then on this side, we'll bring this in, bring this in, bring this down. And this back here, see that shape? That's the far leg. So we can darken that up. We don't need to see it. It's going to be implied. And so we'll darken all this here to imply that far leg. Okay? And right now it's going to look really kind of foreign because it's just sitting on that one side. So let's bring it all the way around to here and to here. So we connect it all up. So there's a sense that on this side of that center line, we've got light areas, and on that side of that center line, we've got dark areas. So we can do the same thing over here. Just to darken these areas out so that they go away. All right, there we go. Now we've got the front claws here. So remember, we had those boxes in mind before. So we're going to do the same kind of thing. We're going to draw up and down. You can draw a box here like this. It's like a box. Sorry, I'm not drawing the box here. Another box for the 3 toes. And then we'll bring up and back, up, back, up, back. And then we'll have the toes here. And then we can put toenails on here, like so. Because, you know, every good monster needs a good toenail. And then here, because the other foot needs to be here, remember there's a box like this. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll go up, down, box, up, down, box, up, down, box, like that. And I will extend this out so it doesn't look like he's falling off, which only makes this feel even more kind of like it's hanging off the side of the building. And now let's turn these into toenails, like so. And to separate these 2 feet out, let's put a triangle there, and we'll fill this in dark. We can fill that in dark. And then under here, fill this in dark. Fill that in dark. And then come up here and see that Y shape? I'm going to make that dark in there. Okay. That way it feels like it's touching the ground there. And we can do the same back here. We'll just draw a triangle, fill it in dark, just to make these little kind of areas where light isn't going to make it in. So now we've got our gargoyle kind of figured out. So one way to finish off this gargoyle, to make him kind of more finished feeling, is to think, well, what's he made out of? And if he's a traditional gargoyle, he's made out of stone. So one of the things to do is you can throw crack lines on him. So imagine there's like little chips taken out of him. Like maybe he's a living creature, right? And he's been turned to stone, or he's a living creature made of stone. And so just like stone, he gets cracks and other things in him, but it doesn't mean he's not alive and he can't come after you. So we figure, let's make this gargoyle kind of crazy looking. We'll throw some cracks. And sometimes what you can do is you can draw these like kind of like, they look like lightning lines. Every once in a while, make them a little thicker. And what that does is it just makes it look like the crack opened up a bit. Okay? And then we can double define things. So we have this triangle here. Let's make that triangle doubled and then fill it in like so. We'll do the same here with these. We'll double define it. And what that means is by double defining something like that, it gives it volume. And it also makes it feel more like it was sculpted rather than a surface object. Okay? Now inside the mouth, I would put a tongue. And gargoyles are supposed to have pointy tongues. I don't know, I just say that. So I'll give them a nice pointy tongue. I just seem to remember they had pointy tongues. And then put that divot in the middle. It's like a triangle in the middle that shows where the tongue curls. And you can fill all the rest of this back in. And then fill around here. Try not to draw over your teeth, but keep the areas between the teeth dark so that the tongue is defined as not covered over by the teeth. And here, with this is an opportunity to put another one of those sharp lines rather than a soft line. The idea is you want to make him feel kind of angular, like he's carved out of stone, so give him those sharp lines. Now, these big triangles back here that we made for spikes, one thing I want to play around with is how do we make those triangles feel three-dimensional as opposed to just feeling like they're thin plates. So one thing that makes something three-dimensional is that it has 3 sides. So if you've got it like this, that feels like it has 3 sides, whereas this feels like it just has 2. So one of the ways to make it feel three-dimensional is we're going to draw from here down, And then from here down, and we're just going to keep doing that along these sides here. So see what's happening is if we draw from that center point down a little bit to the back of the triangle, like this, and curve it a little bit, it's going to make them feel like they're three-dimensional points as opposed to just two-dimensional points. And what you could do if you wanted, you can shade these in. And now they'll really feel like they're three-dimensional. See how that works? Now they feel like they have real depth. You can do the same up here too. So you just give it some three-dimensional form. So on here in the claws, you could do the same. Just by giving it a little bit of depth, a little bit of shading like that, you can make it feel like it's a three-dimensional object instead of a two-dimensional object. So that said, you can shade inside the eye socket. All right, and then do the same to these, see? And even if you don't fill them in all on every single one, like I would fill in all the ones on one side, but I wouldn't necessarily fill all the ones on the other side of the creature. So as we get over here, we don't need to fill them in. We'll just imagine that more light's getting in there. But then we can do things like this. We can draw up the side of the horns, which makes them feel like they have edges as opposed to being completely curved. And then we can draw ridges on these horns. And then we'll draw back. And now, under here, we'll throw, I'm just doing some lines to give it a little bit more depth. So I'm drawing shapes that are supposed to look like if the sculptor wanted to put in tendons in the arm, ridges in the arm like that. And those just give the arm more three-dimensional feel. So when these spikes come out here, if we bring the spikes like this, they start to feel more three-dimensional. Again, it's because we're giving them an extra side. And then we can put them over here too. Like that. And now gargoyles, I don't know if they have tails, but I'm going to say it does. And we're just going to let this go to shadow here, where the tail would be. So we come down like so. And then for this part here, the reason why I put this spiral here is what I'm going to do is we're going to go leave that, we're going to put that sphere there, ellipse there. I'm going to start in the middle of the ellipse and I'm going to come around like this. And then draw back like that. Okay? So you come down and around, you leave this open, and then you draw back to there, and then you put another channel, another line there, and then you can fill this in. And what you'll see is it starts to look like architectural interest. You can even do that if you want. And then under here you can put lines like this. And you can put a few more lines under here, as long as you mimic everything on this side with something on the other side. So now you've kind of got him on a pedestal on the side of the building here. And now for the end, what we're going to do is we're going to fill this in. way across. Like so. And go, just try to remember to keep those windows light. So it'll feel like we're looking at the nighttime city in the background there, and the creature is looking over. And then if we want to make it feel like night some more, we can do this, finish out this drawing, and fill this all in. Maybe only to about here with dark. So what it's going to feel like is the sun is still like setting and the dark sky is descending on the area. We can make this dark up here and have it get lighter as it goes towards the bottom. Okay, so there we go. I think we've got a finished piece here. And I like that we've got like more going on in this piece than usual. So one thing you can do to really kind of make this a little special is you can go in with your eraser and pull circles out and just pretend they have stars in there. You got to do that if you have more consistent dark there, which I don't really have. And then, as always, put your name down in the lower right-hand corner, or wherever you feel like putting it. I put Steve Ellis, and I try to put an exclamation point because I try to enjoy drawing. And I hope you guys had a good time. So remember, you can always put more texture lines on here to make it feel more like stone. You can put more coming up like this, coming across like so. Stuff coming out like that. You know, always remember you can always add more textures, and the textures will make it a little fun. Like, so these stones back here, you can throw a few textures like this on them. You know, you gotta think, like old stones, right? They get weather beaten by rain and ice, and they get things like lichen grows on them. So there's gonna be all these cracks and crevices and kind of areas in the stone that kind of looks unfinished. So just remember you can do things like that. The mortar, which is the stuff in between the stones, doesn't have to be even. It could be a little bit off, so you can make it thicker in areas, like as if the stone wasn't even, but they put it in anyway, and they filled it in with mortar. All right, stuff like that adds to your story. So the more you think about the different details, the more you give those different details in your drawing, the more story you're telling your viewer. And it's always more interesting to look at a drawing that has a story to it than to look at a drawing that's just a drawing. Like if you can tell a little bit of a story just by thinking about, like, okay, this guy's been sitting out in the rain all day and maybe there's a little bit of a drip of water coming off of his mouth here. You know? And you can put some pores in the stone like that. Anything you can do like that helps to tell a story with your drawings makes it really interesting. And especially to the people who are looking at your picture, they'll be more appreciative of it because they'll be like, oh, they get to think about story that goes on in your drawings. And that's actually the difference between just a drawing and an illustration. An illustration gives you a bit of a story. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you had fun drawing the gargoyle with me. Remember, post your drawings up as much as you can here or on the Monster Art School page. I don't know if I've got that fixed yet. I'll be putting these on YouTube probably later, and so everyone can see them. So share it with as many people as you can, please. It's a rough time right now, and if people get joy out of drawing with me, I want to share that joy with as many people as possible. So please share it with all your friends, with anybody who needs a little pick-me-up. Hopefully they can draw with me and have some fun. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.